Everyone keeps talking about this Pibby short, and I was expecting it to be like a 10-minute long pilot, but it's just a 2-minute short. So, it better be good. That was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. What the heck? Learning with Pibby is a new Adult Swim thing. They released it just as a little short that kind of acts more of as a trailer, but it seemingly hasn't been greenlit as an actual show. So they kind of are nonchalantly doing this for fun as a Halloween thing, but also being like, hey, if it gets like a lot of views, maybe we'll make it a show. So I think right off the bat, I'm just gonna say, like, give it a lot of views and like ratings and comments, because this is one of the most interesting televised cartoon concepts that there's ever been, ever. If you don't know about it, the gimmick here is that this is a subversive horror educational cartoon. The premise is that some evil glitching force is taking over tons of different cartoon worlds, and this little character Pibby from a made-up preschool show has to go on a great adventure to stop it, all while learning what blood is and encountering terrifying corrupt versions of genuine Warner Brothers characters that we all know and love. My immediate first thought about this before I even watched it, just when I was seeing like photos of the screenshot stuff, is just going back to how right now I think Warner Brothers is like so obsessed with themselves. They've been doing so many crossovers, having Scooby-Doo and Tom and Jerry do crossovers with other properties that they own. They did Ready Player One, that was like a big crossover, but it was mostly just their own characters. Lego Movie is kind of what started the trend. Then they just did Space Jam 2, which had the whole Warner Brothers universe. There's a leaked Smash Bros. Style fighting game that's gonna have Scooby-Doo and Steven Universe and all sorts of stuff. They are really, really obsessed with doing these crossovers because it's probably a really easy way to like nostalgia bait people into watching stuff. But this concept right here, this is a whole nother level of creativity for that idea. This isn't just taking all their properties and like throwing them in as like a, oh hey, there's like Fluoride Flintstone in the background, don't you know who that is? This is turning all of those things on their head, letting you see all these classic cartoons that you know from this new horrifying and jarring perspective. It's just such a genius idea. It fits into like the cartoon multiverse idea that this show is basing itself on, but then it also very easily grabs a lot of attention because, you know, we get to see Finn and Jake in there. It makes me think of that Fairly Odd Parents episode, Channel Chasers, where they go between different TV shows. But in that, you know, they weren't allowed to use any characters from anything else, so they just kind of parodied a ton of stuff. This Pibby idea could have easily done that and still have been pretty darn interesting. But adding that crossover aspect on top gives it a big hook, especially even for people that may not go looking for Adult Swim cartoons. You know what else this reminds me of? This is a very niche thing. This reminds me of Fairy Tale Fights, which was a PlayStation 3 game that was like a cutesy game, but like had gore and stuff. I never even played it. I just remember seeing screenshots and specifically like the box art all the time on like the PlayStation Store and stuff. I was always interested in it because this sort of aesthetic has always really appealed to me because of just how unique it is. You know, we don't get too much stuff like this outside of maybe t-shirts. I guess you could also say it kind of has a similar idea to Fat Princess as well. That's another old cutesy PS3 game with all sorts of goofy gore. I mean, maybe I'm biased because I'm really obsessed with subversive stuff. I mean, there's a Higurashi figure right there. There's a Deltarune plush down there. There's a Madoka Magica thing there. There's Doki Doki Literature Club right there. There just really isn't much media with this kind of concept. The only other examples I've seen have really just been video games and anime. I think it'd be really great to have a cartoon try the concept out. So I hope that this becomes a real thing. I also hope that, like, I go back to... There we go. But overall, Pibby has to be, like, the most creative TV concept I've seen since, I don't know, probably since Rick and Morty came out. It's crazy because there's been so much good media coming out recently. It's really hard for me to remember things because, like, as good as everything that's coming out is, nothing is sticking to me. You know, nothing seems really revolutionary. It seems like everything is just taking this concept that, like, Gravity Falls and Adventure Time introduced with having a continuity show and building upon it and making it very interesting in their own ways. But no show has done something that has been, like, out there and felt really new. I think really the most recent thing I watched that felt that way was maybe BoJack Horseman, and that's old, but that did only just end, so I guess it is technically recent. But a show like Pibby, this is what people want, and I know I keep calling it a show even though it's not greenlit, but I like, remember when Infinity Train wasn't greenlit and it was just a pilot that people were obsessed with? Pibby is now my Infinity Train. Now I absolutely need to see this become something more than just this little trailer. It's really too powerful, and it could be so good, and it would just it already is getting so much attention, but if it was a full series, and then they were able to have like Finn and Jake in it, but have them be voice acted and stuff, you know, it could really, really gather attention. Because this sort of idea is exactly what people want. Just look at all the other media recently, like I've been saying. Everything nowadays is like a cute, continuity-based cartoon that's secretly sort of horror-esque or has some sort of secret lore going on that's very interesting. But this Pibby series, this is a cute continuity cartoon that is not even secretly horror, it's overtly horror, and it has the added crossover aspect, which could easily be exceptional and get a ton of attention. Like really, look at some specific examples. Think about like Friday Night Funkin', Owl House, Undertale, Battle for Dream Island, Doki Doki Literature Club, Infinity Train, like I already said. Obviously, there's some big differences between these properties. Sure, I saw somebody on Twitter getting absolutely flamed for saying Pibby was kind of like Undertale, but it like is, you know? There's a very common thread between all these popular mainstream things that get them a lot of engagement. It comes from the visually cute appearance, and then the deeper and often scarier than you would expect storylines. Pibby would be a series that would wear all those very recent popular tropes directly on its face. And for some of those examples, like Undertale, you know, there's the meta storytelling aspect with the breaking the fourth wall and stuff. And on TV, breaking the fourth wall definitely has not been used as a continuity aspect, so that's something too that Pibby could be the first to do that could be really cool. With the fourth wall stuff, there's just something always so charming about seeing a character interacting with the CN Studios logo within an episode. And has there ever even actually been a horror cartoon? The closest example I could say is like Scooby-Doo, and that doesn't count like at all. An actual horror cartoon. There is definitely stuff online that falls into that category, but in terms of a televised production, I think there in all of history is literally nothing. And if there is, it was probably on Adult Swim and lasted not that long. But something like this could last really long, or just be a short one-off miniseries like Over the Garden Wall, because it's already getting attention just from the concept, because the concept sounds so good. It's just such a perfect idea for the current generation of animation fans, and for how the current state of online fandoms are. This could rope in so many people because of the crossover aspect, but then also hook so many people because of the interesting horror aspect and the adult presentation. You know, maybe it would end up being like the characters aren't good or you know, things like that. I don't know. There's no way to get a taste of that from the 2-minute short here, but the concept just screams fun and originality. I was seeing someone else on Twitter also say that like this could be a joke making fun of how Cartoon Network recently started airing a lot of preschool oriented shows. But that's probably not exactly the case, but it is kind of cool to think about it that way, that this is some sort of like direct jab at Cartoon Network. But you know, in the same way the recent OKKO crossover was a celebration, I would say this is a celebration as well, even though it just puts a horror spin on it. So yeah, there you go. There's my absolute gushing about this. I need to see this become something else. It just seems too genius to ignore. It's right there on my list next to Paranormal Roommates for pilots that I desperately wish were TV shows. There's only like 3 things on that list, and Paranormal Roommates didn't stand a chance, but this does. It's almost even weird to me that they gave it this fake trailer. Like, it would have been, I guess, equally or slightly more effective if they let it have an actual 10-minute pilot episode. But it says a lot about the concept that this 2-minute short has gotten as much attention as it has. But I think if they made a 10-minute short, it could have been a whole arc like within that short. And it would give us a better impression of like what an actual episode of a series like this could be. Because like I was saying, you know, maybe the writing would end up falling kind of flat and like the characters wouldn't be good, or like it would use too much adult humor or something like that. But the way this trailer presents itself, it's definitely like if this were to become something, it would be a mini-series that was mainly focused on the drama and the horror and the surprise aspect. And there is nothing else on TV in terms of cartoons that is like that at all. I think this would be really stellar, and I very much hope that it becomes a full-fledged series. So if you have that hope too, or if you just want to watch the short because you haven't seen it, it's up on Adult Swim's YouTube channel. Be sure to leave a like rating on it, and also leave a comment on it. According to the creator, that's quite literally what the studio is looking for by posting this on YouTube. I'm glad it's getting the attention it deserves, but I think it also deserves a full series because it's such a fantastic concept, and this little trailer just gives us a very, very small squeeze of what it could be. It could be something that's perfect for cartoon fans and something that's perfect for people really into all sorts of online horror-based stuff like, you know, like I said, Undertale or Doki Doki Literature Club. It has that kind of approach, and no other cartoon on television, like in history, to my knowledge, has had this approach. Actually, there was that sci-fi show that was based on a creepypasta about like puppets. It was a pirate thing. Something Cove. I forgot what it was called. I was looking that up the other day. I guess maybe that's the only other example, but also that only had like 4 episodes. So that doesn't count. So yeah, please go check this little short out if you haven't already, and let me know what you think about it in the comments. Please leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to know when I post new videos. Thanks for watching, and super special thanks to my Patreon supporters. Support me on Patreon and you'll be able to submit video topics, see exclusive behind the scenes content, and help me keep this channel going. Also follow me on Twitter and TikTok for special updates.